begin. Hey everybody, Kristine Cataldo, the Lioness here, and I'm sitting here with these amazing ladies at Pillars of Hope. We're doing a training session, so come on in and join me and learn how to not close your eyes to human trafficking and how you can help out and serve right where you're at. So thank you ladies for having me, and we'll go ahead and get started. So let's see here, you can see the screen. So what I wanted to talk to you about is how to really serve right where you're at and to show up authentically in all different areas of your life. And I think it's something I'm really passionate about, and I've been really thinking about it, and God's been placing it on my heart, because I think often we get so busy, so wrapped up in social media, so just go, and then there's all those things that society tells us that we're supposed to be and we're supposed to do, and we don't show up exactly who we are and exactly how God made us. So that's kind of why I wanted to share this today. So I have a lot of examples and ideas of where we can all serve, and during the session I'd like to do a brainstorming session with you all and figure out where are you serving, or what other ideas do you have that we can share with everyone that does volunteer for Pillars of Hope, and other folks that may not even know about Pillars of Hope, how they can get involved. So that's kind of the madness to the creation of this training. Okay, so I know we all kind of introduced ourselves already, and we have no newbies here, and everyone's engaged and actively volunteering, so that's super awesome. And anyone that's out there, if you want to get involved in Pillars of Hope, please look at their site. So it's pillarsofhope.us, so you can take a peek at the website. And I do post content. I share content forward on my social media channels. So please take a peek there. Ask me, ask someone that's involved, and get involved, because it's an amazing organization, amazing cause. So there's opportunities for, I don't, do you have specific opportunities that you're looking for?
Well, we have the grant writing team that doing research just to see what's out there that, you know, people could do a little online searching.
And I sit on that advisory board, so I would love some volunteers, so please call me.
Yeah, so just if you like to search on the internet and just search for foundations, corporations, businesses, and then a lot of them will actually have links on their website to funding. And then some of them have criteria of what they fund and what they don't. Like some are specific, only fund animals or animal causes. Okay, but our cause is pretty out there, and I think it's a lot. Humanities, really, it's a humanitarian cause. So there's a lot of organizations that would fund that. We also have opportunities to table events. If we have an event coming up, or that people might like to be able to share the information or chat to people.
Okay. How about, do you need help with like volunteers for organizing or hosting events? I don't know. Do you have that covered, or do you have that need?
Yeah, that would be great too. Like there's a lot of different ideas out there to how to, you know, host an event and something fun that, like we do paint classes, for example. But say somebody wanted to do something specific in their home to raise funds for us. So there's quite a few actually throughout the year that people will do a fundraiser for Pillars.
Okay, so I've seen the paint ones. I know you have. So if you don't have your tickets and you want a yummy, delicious meal, on the 23rd, there's the tri-tip and prawn. So it's on my social media, so you can check out the link there and get involved there. And I know you've had paint nights. So if you do have a business and you want to volunteer your business and donate and do some sort of event or something, definitely can use that support. Okay, great. Okay, well, let me move on. So, and I know you ladies might already know this, but this is what really tugged at my heart and put me into action. So several years ago, my brother-in-law at the time sat on the board, And that's how I found out about Pillars of Hope. So Todd Cataldo was on the board. And it was just like, when he started talking about the numbers and the statistics, I'm like, I have a son and I have a daughter. And at the time, I'm like, when I saw the statistic, so by show of hands, how many people know young girls between the age of 13 and 18? We all do.
Yeah.
We all do. We all have children, grandchildren. We have neighbors. We have people at church. We have students. We have like just everybody that we see. And when I saw this statistic here, that 1 in 3 runaways, so are trafficked or picked up by someone within 48 hours of running away. So I thought about that figure, and I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not just runaways, but like my daughter has been like doing the selfie thing or off doing this and was so excited about life and gregarious with all her friends. And I'm like, it only takes that minute, a second for someone to go, oh, look at them over there doing their selfies and not paying attention to where they are or what they're doing, and be snatched easily. So the statistics, why it says runaways, I'm like, what if kids are, just having fun out there and aren't really paying attention, and it could happen just as quickly. So that's what, I'm looking at this picture. I grabbed this picture off at one of the sites, and I'm like, so one of those girls, here they are taking some amazing picture, having a great time, but could be easily trafficked quickly. So that's where I knew I wanted to be involved. I'm going to go into a little bit, where is my heart? I ramble on because I do a lot of things I'm really passionate. God has just etched in my heart to help women. So I am a child of God. I'm a fool for Jesus. I'm all in, and I'm very authentic about it wherever I show up. So whether it's work, I don't put it down someone's throat, but I like to have everyone see Jesus through me in my actions and my words. So I show up just as I am, and I wasn't always that way. So in the past, I was always behind that, like, if someone's going to think weird, they think I'm weird, or it's an uncomfortable topic, or maybe I'm going to offend someone that is of different faith. That's the space I used to be in. And I'm like, no, I have to show up who I am. I'm always, I love everybody unconditionally. So I have friends of all different faiths, all different genders, all different beliefs that may not align with mine, but it doesn't mean I can't love them just like Jesus loved who he was mentoring and working with. So that's how I choose to show up. So that's first and foremost, is child of God. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I have 2 children. I have a son and a daughter that I love unconditionally. And with my daughter, I try to really show up and be that mentor to her, and have her see, like, I want her to like watch what I'm doing and be able to mirror that. So I'm really intentional and purposeful, and I try to be. I'm not perfect at all, but I try to be that way. So being involved with Pillars of Hope, I really want her to know those issues and those things that are out there. I want her to talk to her friends, to the girls that she's connecting with and hanging out with, to the boys that she's connecting with and hanging out with. I want human trafficking, I want people to know. I want people to come in and say, how can I help? So that's why I share everything. And, she loves you, knows you. Oh, and she wants to help out more. And so I know that it's on her heart to do that as soon as her schedule gets a little more clear. So she wants to do some writing from the team perspective.
Oh,
so
awesome.
And then my Pride Sisterhood, this is this is my work with women. I call myself the Lioness. And the reason I call myself that is that I believe that as women, we need to come together just like a pride in the wild. The Lioness are the ones that hunt. They take care of the cubs. They connect the community. And I just believe that we all need to lift each other up instead of tearing each other down and clawing each other down. So that's, I created this community. It's an online community, but I also do face-to-face events. And in the online community, I have about 350 folks in there now, some women in there. I write specifically to the Christian woman, and even if I want to drill down more, to the divorced Christian women, because that's where I sit. So I want to support those women, but my message is goes across to everybody, so everyone kind of picks up something on it. So I try to be inspirational and support them, body, mind, and spirit. So I may be talking about weight loss one day, and maybe talking about mindset the other day, maybe talking about giving back and helping another day, or so it's all of everything that we experienced through our life. And then volunteering. So I do sit on the board, or the advisory board for Pillars of Hope. I try to volunteer wherever I can, as much as I can, with the time that I have. I also recently created a Christian singles group. So it is something, we hit the anniversary on the 28th of February, so it's 1 year old. And I have now almost 400 members in that group that God has brought together. It's all in the East Bay. And so if you know any Christian singles, men or women, all ages, the only rule is that they're over 18 and they come in with a kind heart. And we do all sorts of events like bowling, or we'll go up to the Space Center and watch the telescopes. We sometimes have events at my place, picnics, hiking, cycling. So please, I'll share the links afterwards, and please connect people, because as a Christian single woman, I knew that there was a gap in a place that needed to be filled. And it's kind of hard, to be out there and dating and, have this faith that's just, you don't want to compromise that. So that's kind of why God placed it on my heart. So that's that. And then Mosaic is, those are the wonderful folks that I was blessed 2 years ago. They found me on LinkedIn and offered me a job. And they work in the energy utility industry. And I work in custom curriculum. We create online curriculum, face-to-face curriculum for, like I was on PG&E, I work for a different sector of PG&E right now, because I finished my 2 years at the regular location, so I work on another one, but they have utility companies all over the United States and I believe into Canada now. And so we create training, and they have come alongside, and I'll share a little bit more later, but they've come alongside and partnered and are helping Pillars of Hope out. So it's really kind of cool.
It's really cool. Wow.
So that is where I just show up authentically. I didn't tailor my resume when I went in there. I'm like, nope, I do this coaching, I do all this stuff, I work with women, I'm a Christian. Left it on my resume. Went into the interview, and it was, they saw that it was a good fit, and the culture there is amazing. Everyone I work with, I'm just blessed to work with them. It's a woman-owned company, and she and her husband are just incredible. So very blessed there, but I'll talk more about Mosaic as we go through here. Are there any questions about me before I get started? Okay. And my background is, I have a degree in IT, in computers, and also one in education. So that's kind of, I come from all these different, that's why I like to do so many different things. Okay, so how can you make a difference? It's super simple. All you need is heart. So as long as you have a heart and a passion to help, you can definitely help. And the 3 areas that I want to talk to tonight is education, donation, and your circle of influence. Okay, so as far as education, there's one, this is a little tiny, sorry, it's so tiny. There's lots of areas where there is training out there, and I just believe that we need to equip ourselves so that we're educated to speak to people, we're educated to help, we're educated to save people. Like if we see something that's going on that shouldn't be going on, then we know the right channels to report that to, and to just help, and how to help safely. So as I was preparing here, I was looking around on the Pillar of Hope website, and there's a wealth of information there. So there's online training, there's monthly training such as this event, there's other events, I know there's links to other events, and I know you have that on your social media, when there's some other larger national organizations. I know you've shared that. So that's a great place to start, is the Pillar of Hope page. There's other events that you can get plugged into, and I try to share those on my social media, and I know, Deb, you do on yours when there's something, coming up. Definitely there. Resources, there you had resources for books, you had There were some videos on there. There's articles that people can read and get more information and drill down further. There were organizations on there on the site. So it's a great place to just get on there, noodle around, and you know, spend your extra time there instead of like binge watching something, I think. So that's, I think it's just really important to know what the issues are, know what the current events are, current happenings. I know you post some great stuff, and I share it forward where like this bad person was caught, and now they're serving time, and this is what they did, and this is a great win for the police department or whoever it was.
A group effort for sure.
Yeah. So I love seeing those things, and I love plugging into your social media and being able to share that forward. So it's really good.
Yeah.
So any other ideas about education, how to educate yourself that you may have been aware of that I don't know about? Any other resources or any?
Well, one of the biggest resources is Polaris Project.
Okay, and that's on your site too.
Yeah, that is. They have it broken down by state, all the statistics for the country.
Okay.
So that it's a really awesome site.
Okay, I'm just going to take a note of that. But I know I saw it on the Pillars of Hope site. Okay.
And then of course the biggest resource is the internet. You know, you just on YouTube. You just put in human trafficking, and there are so many videos out there, just so many.
Okay.
So great. You can watch as much or as little as you want.
Okay.
To get educated.
Okay, great. Okay, and then donations. And the first one is volunteer time. What is your gift? I personally love creating online training. I love doing videos. I love speaking to people, and that's the gift that God has given me. So really like thinking about what you do. Like you may have a business, you may be a teacher, you may be, you may have, there's so many different things. You may be an event planner, you may just love to host an event, you may be a chef, there's so many things where they can go, oh yeah, I do that. How can I share that with Deb and the people that are volunteering and the board, and how can I use that gift to help? So it doesn't have to be, I have the time icon here, and I also have the heart with the money. So it doesn't have to be, when I started helping, I was not in a place financially where I could help. Like I was, coming out of a divorce, and everything was all over the place, and like, blah. And I'm like, how can I help? So I knew I made strawberries, and I'm like, I make strawberries, so we made 200 strawberries or whatever. And I loved doing it, and I could do it with my daughter. So that was a way I could give back. I know, maybe there's someone that is, wants to help with grant writing and figure that out. Maybe there's someone that, maybe you love to take notes at a meeting. Maybe you like to help with administrative tasks or run errands. I mean, that's why everyone can come together. And I was saying, like, if everyone does a little, no one has to do a lot. And I think that's what it really comes down to. If everyone can just pitch in a little bit, it adds up. And then, wow, an amazing event or amazing, fundraising. Maybe you like to go ask people for money. Maybe that's your gift. I love fundraising. So I don't like charging for my own stuff, but I'm really good at asking when it's a great source. So maybe you're like, hey, I love fundraising. So Deb, when you have your thing with the stuff, like I'll go out and I'll talk to all these vendors, and, I can get you gifts or baskets or whatever you need for your raffle, or I can get you something here, there, and the other. So those are gifts. Those are all gifts that we can just really sit with that and think about where we can, add more value. Or when you're talking to people, you can definitely ask them. You're like, hey, I know you do this thing, and we could really use that. Would you mind volunteering a few hours, or you mind volunteering, or, you have that lovely little plaque there that your friend made, and I heard you saying, this is what she does, and what a great way for her to give back. That's awesome that she's doing that. And I know there's a lot of people that just don't know, that events are coming up, and I think just being that voice and sharing that. Helping or speaking at events. So maybe it's not a Pillars event, but, there's another event where you can share this information. And, you can educate people at those events. So that's a way that you can give back, and it's, you know, pointing people back to Pillars of Hope, but you're somewhere else, you know, and just being equipped with that education that we did. So you know that stuff that you can talk, the speaking points and where to direct people, and then you can do it wherever you are. So showing up wherever you are. The board and advisory committees. So I know that you have those, and some people may be interested in stepping up in those. And I know for me, I would love to sit on the board, but I can't commit to the meetings and the commitments there. So I'm like, hey, I have this experience, I have this background and this knowledge. So that's why I help on the grant writing and fundraising and education and training. You know, so I'm happy to share because I'm passionate about education, so, and grant writing and connecting people. I'm a connector. So if you're a connector, that's another gift. Mm-hmm. So, and speaking at schools, women's groups, I know you may be involved in a church women's group. You know, share the flyers you have, share, you know, drop in conversation. Yeah, I was at this board meeting, or, you know, I was at a training meeting, and people may not know it's out there and they may want to get involved. So just sharing that's a gift, and that's, that'll bring more people in. It's just creating that tribe and then monetary donations. So these can be they can be attending and supporting Pillars of Hope fundraising events. So that could be your paint event, the steak and prawn event, any of those types of events that you have. And then purchases through affiliates. I don't know, I think you had something like Amazon Smiles or something that you...
Right, so you can, Amazon Smile will donate a certain percentage on things that you order all the time. You just have to be on, I think it's smileamazon.com. And then and you choose Pillars of Hope. And we get a love check every quarter.
Okay. Right. And that's super simple. We're all buying stuff, and especially Amazon. What a great way to give back. I know I've also seen you on Tuesdays, Give Back Tuesday, or you sometimes Tuesday. What is it called? Giving Tuesday. So I've seen that on Facebook.
Yeah.
That comes up. So when I do like this event here, I will put a link, and Facebook is really cool. It knows that you're speaking of or talking about a nonprofit, and it puts a thing up there saying, hey, do you want to create your event or create a fundraiser? And you can say, yeah, sure, I want to do that. And since you already are plugged in there, it was really easy to do that. I was able to choose Pillars of Hope from that. And I know when I did it, I get people to donate. Even if, you know, like people are like $5, $20, $50,
mm-hmm.
and people are donating, and it goes right back to Pillars of Hope, and it's nonprofit, you know, so that's...
And people can also, if they want to say, I'm going to dedicate a cup of coffee a week to Pillars, they could sign up, you know, to do a monthly, 5 or 10, 20, whatever they can afford to do a monthly love gift.
I know, it's so, I was at, what was it? I'm a Pete's coffee gal. So I was at Pete's, and I'm like, I love that drink, but you know, if I took that money, so, you know, you know, choosing where you're going to donate, like, so I'm going to cut back the coffee, whether it's Starbucks or Pete's, wherever your favorite cup of joe is, but, you know, taking that fund, maybe put it in a jar, and then saying, you know, I'm going to write a check, or I'm going to, you know, donate that way, and just, it all adds up. So, and getting your kids involved in donating that way.
And also under your connections. So with the grant writing, we learned that if you have a contact with the foundation or company, your grant will get looked at a lot better. So it's huge, the connections, people you know, or maybe you know somebody who knows somebody at a corporation or foundation.
So then
you would definitely...
The donation of a name.
Of a name.
Of a contact. Anyone can do that. There's no monetary value, monetary, you know, strain on your budget. If it's tight, you're like, who do I know? And just making a list, like, you know, I worked with this business, and maybe they'll donate. Maybe someone will donate office space for you to have your meetings.
Yeah.
Like, those are simple things that we're all out there, and we may be, you know, our employer may say, hey, you know, I have this, I'm not using this at night. You can use it. Mm-hmm. It's another way to donate.
It just, there's possibilities are endless.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's just keeping an open mind and thinking outside the box. Mm-hmm. So, any questions? Okay. And cash donations, of course, that we already kind of talked about that. But I put that at the bottom because, you know, I think when we see donation and we see monetary, then we automatically go to, oh, it has to be cash. But we've just talked about like 8 other things and the way you can volunteer. So there's always some place. So depending on how God places in your heart, that you can give back. Oh, and donations to employers. Okay, so I'm gonna talk later on this, but Mosaic does a matching. So they have certain times. So during the year they do a matching for their employees. So if I'm to give to Pillars of Hope, they will match it. And then there's certain times, I think in Thanksgiving or something, that they do even additional incentives. So check with your employers, because if you have a nonprofit that you're donating to, they may have that. It may be in your handbook, like, okay, we donate, we'll match your donations. So a lot of employers do that. Awesome. So that is something to look at. Okay, come on. Are you not going forward? Stopped. Okay, let's see here. To manually do this. Okay. So circle of influence, and this is a big one. We just kind of talked about that. Who do you know? The power connection. And I believe in meeting people where they're at. So instead of trying to, you know, if they can't come to a meeting or they can't, you know, attend an event, like meet them where they're at, meet them where you're at. If you're in the workplace, meet them there. If it's friends and family, and if you're at an event, meet them there. If it is, you know, your coworkers, meet them there. And get ready to discuss the tough topics, you know, anti-human trafficking. Human trafficking is not a fun topic. It's a necessary topic. If you go back to the first slide where we talked about education, educate and equip yourself so you can have those conversations. And someone may be really passionate or be like not comfortable with it, but just like get in that space to know where they're comfortable in talking, and just meet them where they're comfortable. So you may just share a little bit, and then maybe later you'll come back and share a little bit more, and dribbles and drabs, and just then they might come in and get interested, you know, but it may take them time. But just starting to share what you do and being authentic about it, like, yeah, I went to a board meeting, or I went to a training session. Leave it at that. And maybe later, like, what was that? You know, or share a link, and they're like, oh, I saw that you shared this on social media. We're connected there. Or heard you talk about this. Can you tell me more? You know, or share pictures of, you know, the prawn and steak event, you know, like, look at this amazing basket I won, or look at someone won this, or look at this amazing dinner. You know, I like to take pictures of my food. So look at we got. So I think just, you know, equipping yourself, knowing where the people are at, their comfort levels, asking questions and listening to them. Hey, what do you know about human trafficking? Do you know that this organization is not we're not focusing on human trafficking in another country, another state? It's right here in your Bay Area. It's right in your backyard. It's affecting the, you know, like, start to talk to them where they can relate. It's the girls that we know. It's the boys that we know. It's the women that we know, the men that we know. Like, those are the people that are affected. You know, it's our friends, our family. So really start to speak at that level, and they're like, wow, I didn't know that. And a lot of people, when I talk about it, they think it's from another country, you know, it's happening in another country. You know, it's right here. You know, so I think that was a big takeaway for me, an aha moment when I started to really listen to people and what their perception was. And then if you've equipped yourself and educated yourself, you know how to point them, like, hey, check out this video. Hey, check out this link. Hey, check out Pillars of Hope's website or their social media. Get plugged in and just really know. Social media. So we've talked about this. Deb is amazing at sharing forward, and other people in Pillars of Hope are sharing for Facebook posts that talk about how someone was saved, talk about even someone that's missing, sharing that forward to get that person home and get them saved. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat. So when there was a local child that was missing and I saw it, I went onto Snapchat. Like, I'm not a huge Snapchat person. It's an app that's similar to some of these others, but it's a little confusing to navigate through, but my daughter's on there. So I keep my finger on the pulse where my daughter is. And so I shared that, and it went viral on Snapchat because all of her friends saw that I shared it, and then they were sharing it forward because it was someone at a high school that was local. So that's where the kids are at. Like, if it's a kid that's missing or a child that's missing, share it where they're at so they can share it forward and they can get the word out and have the eyes open. So that's, always been good. LinkedIn is really good. It's a site that's more for the work environment, the professional environment, but I do a lot of my shares and get a lot of, connections with people that are out there trying to help. Maybe they have other organizations where we can partner and pair up, or do some brainstorming sessions. I love to connect with people and have a cup of coffee and see where they're at and what they're doing, and like, oh, that's awesome how you're doing that event. Maybe we can incorporate that here. So even just having your feelers up about what other organizations are doing that could be incorporated at Pillars of Hope, and share that with Deb and the board in these training sessions. This is beautiful. Okay. And this is the employer contribution. Ask them, go to your HR and go to your manager and ask, what opportunities are there? I know at Mosaic, again, they're amazing and they have a heart for giving back. We have volunteer hours. So 2 days for the year, we can volunteer. And I can choose who I volunteer for. So I always choose Pillars of Hope. I also do a food bank. So I like to go over and around Thanksgiving, I like to bag the food over at the Alameda Food Bank. So that's fun. But I have led teams. What they've allowed me to do specifically is to tap into our resources. So our instructional designers, I said, hey, can we have these times off where we're doing internal work? They're off of their regular project, these contractors are, but they're doing internal work. Any opportunity they can do some grant writing, or can they do creating some online training for Pillars of Hope? And they said, absolutely. So over the last several months, we did that. And I'll show you, we're just piloting 2 of the online trainings, the little online training modules that we did. And then we had some gals that sat down and created a spreadsheet for the grant writing, got everything set up and all nice and neat, and we have a procedure now. So when we get some other grant writers, it'll be easy for them to plug in and help. So if they have just a few hours and they want to do some research for Deb or apply for some grants, they can do that, and we can track it easily. So that's one way that Mosaic has been so generous and allowed employees to volunteer. The matching program, like I said, they have a matching program. So when we donate, they have a cap, a certain dollar amount, but they'll match it. And then they have special incentives during the holidays, I think, where they'll match it at an even higher level. So that's really cool, and it's free money out there. So they're like, come on, we're giving money away. Like, don't do this. Donations. So Mosaic was also very generous and donated a check to Pillars of Hope in the end of last year. And that was really cool for Deb to get a check from them, just because they're like, you're our partner, and we have this, they have buckets of money to donate. Like, organizations have money that they set aside to donate. So check what your churches are doing, check what your employers are doing. And if they have that, might as well use it. And if there's grants out there, if you know of any grants, that money may be sitting there and it's not getting awarded to anybody. So, kind of keep your ears and eyes open for that kind of information. And again, discuss and share and invite. So if you have, I'm looking at the flyers here for the tri-tip. Can you hand me one of those so I can So we have I don't know if you can see it. So this flyer here, it has all the information, super simple for you to hand these out. So grab some of these, put them in the break room, hand them out to some close folks that you're working with that may be interested. Share the email, if they allow you. Check the rules and see if it's allowed. Put it on the bulletin board in the break room. Talk to people. Say, this is something I'm passionate about, and share that there. Invite them to training sessions, and share links with stuff that's going on. Any questions about that? Okay. And this is, I'm going to share a little bit where I've been able to plug in and help. So building communities, and whatever that looks like to you. Maybe you have a small group where you're getting folks together and talking about, issues that affect women, or just networking, having a brunch at your house or a gathering. So I have a community called My Pride Sisterhood, and 350 members online, and I think there's a few hundred members in that group as well. And I do once a month, I call this Soul Sister Supper, and we just get together and we all bring something and we share and connect. Sometimes there's 1 or 2 people that show up. Sometimes there's 5 people, 10 people. I never know, but I know God's always going to bring the right people to my table. And so that's the way I give back there. I also talked about the East Bay Christian Singles group, and now we're up to almost 400. And I do an event typically at my place that's 20 to 30 people, and we just have a great time and play games or whatever. And then we have all kinds of a host of events that we do. The second one here is the online training. So this is a little snapshot of this right here. That's the human trafficking awareness module that my wonderful employer, Mosaic, came alongside Pillars of Hope and partnered and developed this training. So there's that one, and then there's the second one, which is a deeper dive. So it's like 101, 102, and then we're going to be building the third one. And so it's just digestible information that we can get up on the website, and once it's fully vetted, once Les and Deb fully look at it and the board members, then we can get it on the website, and you can get a link and you can point people to that. So when someone's going, well, what is that thing that you do? Or where are you going to this meeting? And you can go, here's a link, go check it out. And then you're not having to it's just one tool that you have in your backpack so that you can, share it with people without having to know all the facts and figures, and because it's all right there. So that's one way that they've come in and done that. And this amazing, so I wore my bracelet tonight from my recent trip to Ghana. So I was just in Africa for 10 days, and my amazing employer sponsored me to go. So they go every year and do a mission trip in Ghana. And while I was there, this lovely lady that was standing next in this picture here, in this video here, or this photo, her name's Beulah, and we connected, and she called me Sister Christian the whole trip. And she we had a sit down. So Mosaic, it's a women-owned company, and there's lots of women leaders in this group that went, and they were like, we need to connect with the women there, and we need to have a Q&A session. So we sat down. We did 10 days in this village where they'd never seen a white person before. It was amazing, incredible connection. They were the beautiful people. In that village, they were all Christian. It was thousands of people. We spent 10 days helping build a library. So we were doing the foundation for a physical library. We got to teach in the classroom. I got to do art with the kids. We were teaching basic math skills, colors, that type of thing. We did a sports day with them. We cooked with them. We went into they have the village, they have the clans, and then they have families within the family units. Mm-hmm. So we paired up and partnered with a family and got to cook one of their traditional dishes. Mm-hmm. Got to learn more about their community, and it was awesome. But one of the last days, so we met with the young girls, and we had a nurse, and so we went over women's issues with the younger girls, and that was really cool. And they were really engaging, asking lots of questions, and wanted to know the science behind everything. So we did that, and the men met with the young boys and did that. And then we had a dentist in the group, and so he did dental health care with the kids, and then he did it with the adults. That was really cool. But it was so, I think my favorite part was meeting. We did under a tree, hundreds of women and us. So we had like a panel, and there were 8 of us, maybe, women sitting there, and we did it like, what kind of issues do you face? And so they would ask, we introduced ourselves and we talked about the issues that we face. And then they did the same thing. And thousands of miles apart, some of us couldn't, like, we were going, okay, how do you say this? How do you say that? And so we had a translator there. We had an organization called Adanu that sponsored us there and were there with us during the whole event and translating and, just making sure that all our needs were taken care of and making sure theirs were, making sure we all understood each other. But it was amazing to see that we have the same issues that they do. So these women, like, I talked about being a Christian divorced woman and the struggles there, and some of the struggles I have, and I'm gonna get emotional. And this lady stood up and she saw, because I got really vulnerable in the session, and I started to cry, and I was like, wow. And this woman stood up, and she, at the end, so we all did our session, we talked, and they shared, we shared, and she stood up at the end, and so I could see the translator was like getting all teary-eyed. And she turned to me and she said, she's talking to you. She wants you to be strong. She wants whatever you... So I'm not going to go into what I shared, but what I shared, she had the same issue, same exact issue, which I would have never thought, like thousands of miles away, this lady that doesn't even speak my language had the same thing happen. And she said, stay strong, sister. Like, I want you to stay strong. And I want you to continue to radiate the joy that you have, that I can see in her heart. And she said, in her language, she said, just know God is there. And I was like, awesome, this is so awesome. I'm coming back. I can't wait to come back. So we walked away, and we had this just amazing connection. And we're like, we're sisters. We're all sisters. And then this gal came up to me, and she's like, Sister Kristine. And I'm like, hey, Beulah. And she's like, I don't want to see you go. Like, this was the last day. And she said, stay strong. She said, keep smiling. And she goes, I want to see you again. I'm like, absolutely. So I'm going to connect. I'm going to reach out and write and ask Adanu to like send letters to her, to connect with her and send photos. But during that session, that QA session, things came up about abuse, and they came up about teen pregnancies and how they're in that culture, like it's a girl's problem. Like, some of the kids, the boys, the whatever, aren't held responsible. So then this girl is, the family has to come alongside and take care of her, if the man doesn't, the boy doesn't step up. So it's just like some of the same things that we talked about. We brainstormed, like, how can we gave them suggestions on, like, how can you help your daughters? And so we just kind of talked about just having those honest, open discussions with them, being authentic, being vulnerable, just saying you have a right to say no. But I heard a story of one girl that didn't have, what'd she call it? And it was some sort of notebook that they use, and her family couldn't afford it. And this boy said, hey, I have one at my house. Like, come on over. And then she was raped for a notebook, and I'm like, oh my God, like I can give so much, like I could give notebooks, like let me send notebooks, but there's just things that, they don't have. And they're like, well, I guess this is okay. No, it's not okay. It's never okay. So just, hearing that and knowing that we have, not probably that same identical thing, but we have those same issues here. Mm-hmm. So really like reaching out globally, and however it is, you may not be in Ghana, you may not be in Africa, but you may be somewhere internationally, you may be somewhere out of state, like not just connecting here locally, but like keep reaching out and connecting when you have that chance. Or if you connect with someone in a coffee shop that may be visiting, or in San Francisco that may be visiting, like if that comes up, like connect with them and talk and share and discuss, and like just let's all come together, especially as women, and support each other and create your own pride, and lift each other up. So so those are the places that I'm serving right now, and I'm able to help out, and that, you know, mosaics come alongside of me, and God is woven throughout. Like God is like, it's all him. It's just, I'm just a vessel and he's using me, and has given me the gift to love video and to love to speak and to educate people. So I'm just using that gift. Any questions about this here and the things that I've been able to do?
No, I don't have a question, but I have a point. One of the things that came up in that online social media class that I took, it was really important that you said, is sharing the stories. Whether, you know, success stories are always wonderful because they're feel-good stories, but all the stories, like real life stories that people can relate to and feel and understand that this is going on in our community. It's happening everywhere, and that will help people be more involved and make more of a commitment to do something about it, because a lot of times they think it's just outside or it won't affect me, right? But when you bring it back to reality and they see bad stories and good stories, it does affect me. It affects people I know, and so I want to be more involved. So that's a really good point to add.
That's really good. And to piggyback on that, not only so they'll come in and help, but so they know they're not alone. So if they're affected by something that you've been affected to, you can come alongside and mentor them and help them. You may be further down the journey than they are, and you're like, it's okay, it totally sucks where you're at. Like, it's horrible. Like, this feels really icky and wonky, but it'll get better. Like, it always gets better, you know, and saying, hey, this is what I did and how I got out of it. So if you're able to share that, like, you know, I use these resources and I did this, and, you know, or maybe I'm just an accountability person, or maybe I'm checking in with you to make sure you're okay. You know, it's really a good point. And not dwelling, like, you know, I coach women and work with women, and to try to get them out of their story. Use air quotes here. We all have a story. Everyone's had a horrible thing happen, or something that feels horrible at the time. Like when I went through my divorce, I was a puddle on the ground. Like, I mean, I'm surprised I still have friends. They're still there, and I kept calling them, and I would call the next one, and, you know, and it would just be like this mess. And now I know it was what God wanted me to do, to equip me to help other women. But at the time, it was like, and I had this woman in my church group that was like, yeah, it's going to totally suck. It's going to hurt. The worst thing ever. And I'm like, what are you saying? And she's like, you need to move. Keep moving. Whether it's like this, keep moving forward. And try not to stay in that story, because when you stay in that story, that's where it's like bad. And I know when you work with the women that you work with, like, to gently move them forward, and so they're not going, well, I've been trafficked, or I've had this happen, or I've had that. Yes, it's super sensitive because I'm not trained in that area, but to recognize it, but to urge them to move forward, and to when they're in a safe space and they're healed or more healed, to share their story so that they can help others, and just pay it forward, and, you know, and just help other women make that pride, you know, super, super important. So sharing a story, sharing something that's happened, whatever it is, like, that's why I say body, mind, and spirit, whatever it is, someone's going through it. When I was struggling getting, you know, like, moving forward in my coaching practice and teaching, one of my really good friends, I met him at Tony Robbins, super awesome guy. I call him my twin. He's like, we're like brother and sister. I was like, I can't move forward. And he said to me, think of the woman that is suffering because you haven't moved and you haven't shared your story. And I think of that, I'm like, oh. So sometimes when we get so stuck, we're like, oh yeah, well, we're stuck, and we're stuck, and we're stuck, and we're stuck. But if you think about the people that are suffering because you haven't shared, or you haven't helped, or you haven't moved, that was like, whoa, it was a light bulb moment. Like, just because I haven't shared my story, then someone is stuck, and someone may do something horrible to themselves, or maybe feel bad, or like all those things. So that's my motivation to keep moving forward, you know, regardless. And I do realize, like, now I'm like, oh, I'm in an amazing place. God has, like, really done some amazing things, and he always does. But it's in his time, his moment, his way. And, you know, I remember at the beginning, I've always been a Christian, but, like, I had my idea. I'm like, okay, here, God, here's the menu. You can serve it up anytime. Like, 'cause this is what I want, and this is what I need, and this is what and he's like, you're funny, Kristine. And I realized that, like, it turned out totally different than what I thought, but I'm in a wonderful place. And now I'm equipped to share forward, you know, monetarily, share forward my time, like he's given me this gift and I know I have to share it forward. Like I have to, it's like etched in my heart. It's not just on my heart. So, so that's that. And I want to hear from you guys now. So like other ideas, like, is there anything that you have thought about when we're discussing here, or any areas that you're giving back or you're helping or you're serving that we haven't talked about, or that you have a story about, or that someone else that you know that has done something, you're like, that's kind of cool that they've done that, or it's a great idea. Any ideas? I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't have to share, but if there's something that bubbles to the top. Anything. You'll think about it as soon as you'll be like 1 in the morning, you're like, oh, I should have shared that. But that's okay. So I would love for you to, I'll share my contact information. If you do think of those stories, I would love to know those, because I take all this content, and when I meet with people, that's how I create my blog posts and I have something called the Daily Roar, and it's not daily yet, but it will be. It's a video that I share. So when God places something in my heart, or I'm inspired by falling leaf or a song or whatever, I go live and I share. And always, it never fails, someone comes back privately and says, hey, I was totally going through that thing, and that stuff that you shared, it made my day and it inspired me to keep moving forward, or, I made this shift because of that. And I'm like, God's amazing that way. So, so please share those so that I can, share them out or be inspired by what, the stories that you have. I'd love to hear that. Where can we affect change? Like, where else can we affect change? Like, was there anything in here that Pillars of Hope maybe isn't doing now that we could adopt and incorporate? Or, I know we talked about sometimes it's hard for people to get to physical location, for meetings and trainings and stuff. And I know we talked about Zoom sessions, so maybe you can bring that back to the board and, doing, getting speakers to do those sessions and recording those and having a library of training that people can, click on and, with your PJs on and your fluffy slippers when you're up late at night and you can't sleep and you're binge watching something. Is there anything else that we've talked about that? I mean, do you ladies all, do you see the posts that you do, Deb, like the posts on social media? Could you maybe possibly encourage other people to share those forward? I'm like, I don't know that. I realize I do it, but I think I'm going to reach out to the folks that I'm connected to. Some of the people that have volunteered at Mosaic, on the Pillars of Hope stuff. I'm going to say, hey, can you share this forward? Because it's just like that domino effect. And it's something simple that we can do, whether it's through email. It could be through email. I know you have links to things, so you can share that link in an email if you're not on social media or don't want to be there. You can do that, or even word of mouth, or just saying, hey, did you see that thing that Deb posted, or print it out and share it. I think that's one simple way that you can get things going. And do you take, if someone is aware of something, you would post that after you vetted it and looked at it too?
Yeah, I usually share it with Natalie, and Natalie's our social media guru.
So we can share things with Natalie.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
I think it might not be a bad idea to contact some of the local cities, because they don't all have a task force. And I know this because I just had a private meeting with the mayor of Antioch a couple weeks ago to invite him to our fundraiser personally. And Antioch just started a task force and has 2 city council members now that are going to be running the task force. But this is brand new, and I had no clue that they didn't have something already in place. It might not be a bad idea to reach out to some of the other cities to find out whether they do, and if they don't, maybe try to introduce, that these cities are now doing this, and maybe this is something that we need in all the cities to help with this. So just a thought.
Oh, that's a good idea. And maybe getting, collecting that and having it on the website and sharing it with you, and then maybe inviting those folks to these meetings, and maybe then inviting them to the online training, maybe having them speak at the online training. If they have a task force, or if they're doing something that's creative or whatever, have them interview them, on those, and I'm happy to help with the Zoom sessions. So that's, my passion is online stuff. So that's a great, I love that.
I guess I just assumed that everybody did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And just keeping your ears out, and when you're reading the local, whatever it is, newspaper or something, if you see an event or a place to reach out to the council members or city, employees, where it's a QA or a town hall meeting or something, it's a good place to ask that. Anything else? No? I think, have I gone way over? Like, I probably did go over. No, I'm on, 59 minutes. I ramble a lot. So
we usually wrap up about 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anything for me? No?
I know you were talking about, was it Guinea where you went?
Ghana? Yeah.
And I missed it because I had to step out.
You're going to have to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was amazing.
And that was through your company, right?
It was through Mosaic. Yeah, so they sponsored me. They go every year, and employees can pay their own way, but I was just blessed to be sponsored this year.
That's
and
awesome.
I will definitely be going back. And Adanu, I can share that link too. Adanu is the organization there. So they go into villages, and so what we were doing was like a seed project to see if they were like receptive, because they don't want to go and plug a bunch of money in to to bring up the education, or the fixtures and different things there, if they're not going to support it, if they're not going to welcome it. And this village was amazing. We got there and they already had water brought in. They had bricks they were making. They were starting to dig up the trench for the library. So we did a library, and then we did they call it a pee room, a latrine area. It's like literally like cinder block area. And so they needed additional one of those. I know next up that the kindergartners. So they had 2 buildings that were classrooms for older kids, but the kindergartners, when I worked with them, they were under a tree. Like under a tree, they brought their chairs. So they bring their chairs from their house. They had these little chairs, and they carry them with their heads, and they carry them in and sit down. And, kindergartner, little, so even smaller than kindergartners, it was like wrangling cats, like they're there, and the goats are coming by, and the chickens, and so they have all that going by. And then the parents, so the parents are in this community are receptive to their children learning, but they have farms to run. So they have the farms to run, and those are able hands to be working. So the structure itself is not just, to keep them out of the elements. It's also to keep them not away from their parents, but like out of sight, out of mind, maybe. So they're not pulling them out of a classroom to go and help on the farm. So they'll leave them there. So the little ones, the parents were checking on them and around, and like literally it was this tree with like 40, 50 little ones, and trying to teach them and keep them focused without like the thing falling in the grass. I mean, like, they were just, it was, so they come in. So that's one of the things I know, that the headmaster, it's a gentleman, that his name was Richard Benjamin. He wanted me to know his name. So it was interesting. Like, they like you to know their name. And so they would ask me my name, and they would, they say Yavu. Yavu means white person. So they'd be like, Yavu. And I'm like, no. Ni Kondo Kristine. Like, I'm Kristine. And so they would say, say black person back to them. And it doesn't mean offense. Like, it wasn't socially offensive. It just means someone that's native. And white person could be anyone with all different skin. We had people that were Asian, and they were called Yavu as well. If you were a African American, or if you were a black person, but not from that community, they would call you Yavu as well. So, but it was really, and they were just fascinated. They loved my phone. I took so many selfies with the little ones, and they wanted to see video. So I'd hold the video up, and they liked to see their friends on the other side. I got to do art in classrooms. So we did watercolor, we did pointillism, and I got to bring in a book from our local library a Van Gogh book, a story about sunflowers, and I got to read it to them. So now I'm taking pictures and bringing that back to the Oakley Library. So that was really cool.
That is awesome.
And then we did an art lesson we had sunflowers that they painted, and we did pointillism, which was, so Surratt is an artist that his paintings are like as big as that whiteboard, and it's all dots. And so we did this, and I was able to demonstrate, like, this is how this art is, this is in a museum, and this is how big it is, and it was all made of dots. And so they did their little project, and so I was able to tie all that in. So it was really, really, and art is my passion, so it was really cool to do. So now Adana was looking at this community, and they had 2 other groups coming in after us to do more work. And so it was great that they were really receptive, because that means they're going to get more funding and more people coming in, and then it will build it up so that these kids have a chance to go to university. And then what they do is they usually volunteer. So there were some teachers that were actually not, full-fledged teachers, but they were giving back for a year, because that's what they do. So they give back, and then they go and continue their studies. Wow, but when they're educated, then they can bring back that training. There were a lot of people in the community that had never left the village, had never gone outside of the village, and it took us 20 minutes to get in, but they never left there. That's all they knew. Wow. And we got to,
that's amazing.
We got to, the women, like, would carry these babies, they had these, like, this beautiful fabric, and they would just pull the baby up on their back and put the fabric around and tie it. And I'm like, wow. And they did everything with babies on their back. They carried huge things of water. We were able to do that. So they were these big tins, like huge, and then you put this fabric on your head, and then you put this thing, and you're like, okay, I can't even do it without the water. So we had to walk a half a mile.
Oh, wow.
And then they put a little bit of, they put, like this much water. They were filling it all the way to the top, and it was heavy. And then we carried it like this. So you had to hold your hands, and you had to carry it, and you had to, like, move the water so that you could rest your shoulders a little bit. So you'd move it back a little bit, and then rest your shoulders, and a half a mile back. And then we dumped it. And to think that we were only doing like this much, and they were filling to the top. Wow. And they carry everything on their head. So with the baby on their back. So it was great reflection. I had this beautiful woman in front of me with this gorgeous baby, and she's carrying this thing. And so the whole half mile, I'm like, the body achieves what the mind believes. I just kept saying that over and over, because I'm like, I can't drop this. I can't not do this. If she's able to do it with a baby on her back and bare feet, like, I can definitely do this. And so that was really cool. They also, cassava. Cassava is a root vegetable, and they make garret. I think it's garret out of it. So the cassava grows out in the fields, and it takes 5 months to grow. So it's a lot longer than potatoes, but it looks like a yam. It's kind of really big. And they pick them, and then they take the stem, and they put it back in the ground, and it grows again. And then they take those, and they have to peel them. So they peel them, and then they have a machine they run it through. So it's like a grinder, and it spits out it takes away the fibrous stuff, and then spits out the other stuff. And then it almost looks like Parmesan cheese. You know how you get the Parmesan that you put over like pasta? It's clumped together like that. And then they have these woven like colander type things, and then they rub it in there, and it falls into a bucket, and then they take it and they put it in a pan, and in the pan they put it over a hot flame, and they constantly stir it and kind of roast it.
Wow.
And once a week they have people coming in into the community, and they sell it. No, they take it to market on Mondays, and then 2 times a week people come into the community to buy it. So that's their main source of income. Wow. So that's why, like, oh, that kid's over there and not really paying attention. Maybe they can be, peeling these things or doing this stuff. So, so it was great to see that, to taste it. It was in our meals. They wet it and make, it almost tasted like sourdough starter. It had a tart taste to it. And it was almost like a pork bun, like look. And it wasn't quite bread, but it wasn't moist. So it was in between, and they use it with soup or whatever, and they eat that. and then they harden it. They make another type of thing, and the kids carry that in their satchel, and they eat during the day on it's kind of like a snack. So it's a staple for them. So that was really cool to do that. We had sports day, like I said earlier, where we did tug of war, mosaic, and everyone that was there volunteered, and we had tug of war. We did like carrying the egg, a fake egg on spoons. We did sack races. We did frisbees, and they loved it. And then we did soccer. So we had a soccer game where some of the kids that were with us got to put on uniforms and go out and play with their soccer team.
Wow,
and it was really cool to
really
watch them.
great.
And we danced a lot. They loved music and drums, which it was amazing. And dancing was a big, part of their. And then when we were sitting around, we sat and sewed the uniforms, the kids, because they were all torn and stuff. So we had little sewing kits, and we sat there, and they were so patient. They sat with their arm up, like sewing the blowout in their underarm, or their skirt or the pocket, and they were so grateful. They just were so excited. And one little boy, one night, we would eat at the end of the day. We'd eat, and we had a chef that came and cooked for us to make sure, because we can't have the water and stuff. So she was cooking our food, and we would sit there at the community and eat, and then we would head back to our village or where we were staying. And this little boy came, and he wasn't there earlier, but he knew that we were sewing uniforms. And he had the pocket was ripped off of his shirt, buttons were off, it was a big hole in the side, and he came back from his house area and brought his shirt for us, and wanted someone to sew it. So one of the gals sat there and sewed it for him. So that was really like, wow. I mean, we take so much for granted, the stuff that we have here.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that, and then meeting with the women was amazing. So you have to watch the thing, but it was it really tugged at my heart. And I came back, I was on the flight, and I was literally in tears. I was like, how am I need to be more purposeful in everything that I do. Because I was unplugged from social media for the most part. I posted a few things while I was there, but I need to be purposeful. I need to enjoy it. They enjoy life, and they are joyful, and they don't have a lot, and they have a lot of pain and a lot of things going on, and they were so happy, the whole time. And that was just like, wow, okay, how can I be that way? How can I show up, be authentic, and be purposeful in every single thing that I do, and give back, and give back, and give back, and give back until I don't have anything to give back, I mean, of course I need to take care of my family, but I want to give abundantly, wherever it is, and however that, God has me doing that. So that was, and I came back, and the flight, it was really noisy. The flight attendant, I won't say what flight I was on or airline, but it was really noisy and really crashing, and just, people were just rude to each other. And I was just like this perception of man, we're not really nice to each other, are we, for the most part? I really want to show up and be nice to someone. I want to give them grace. I want to know that they probably have something going on that I'm not aware of in their life. And I want to be cognizant of that when I'm having a grumpy day, or I'm irritated by someone on the freeway. I'm like, well, maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe something happened, or maybe they spilled the coffee all over the floor, or maybe they had a death in the family, or maybe they don't have the money to pay for something, or maybe they're worried. All those things that we just don't know. So I'm trying to show up that way now. And that was just,
Well, thank you, Kristine.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I would love to get I think you took the email addresses, but I'd love to get your email address and plug in and share some of these links with you. And, if I write a blog post or share a video, I'd love to share that with you. So
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Bye, everybody. Mwah. Yeah, finish.